Today, French people are voting all across the country for the first ballot of the presidential election. But before they went to the ballot box, they got their artists to remind them how to vote. And they were told, if ever you vote for Marine Le Pen, we're leaving the country, the artist said. Well, doesn't that remind you something else? Do you recall what happened in the United States during the last election? Do you remember what the artists were saying if Donald Trump was going to become president of the country? If you don't recall, I'll refresh your memory with a few quotes of a few artists. I could have picked out many others, but for the fun of it, let's start with Barbra Streisand. She was interviewed by an Australian media about Donald Trump possibly winning the presidential election, and she said, and I quote, "I can't believe it. I'm either coming to your country if you let me in, or in Canada." Well, you know what? We've never saw her in Canada nor in Australia since. She's still a proud American citizen. Another funny one is Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus wrote, and I quote, "I am moving if Donald Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Well, except that one, Miley. Then Samuel L. Jackson.
If that mother becomes president, I move my black ass to South Africa.
Well, his ass might still be black, but I can tell you he's not in South Africa. It's in the United States of America. And I can keep going on and on and on with the list. Like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart said, and I quote, "I'd be getting in a rocket and going to another planet because clearly this planet gone bonkers." Well, maybe the planet is crazy, but we count Jon Stewart as our proud citizen still of this same planet. Then there's Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg said also something very funny.
I don't want it to be America. Maybe it's time for me to move.
And what's wrong with...
Well, obviously it was not time after Donald Trump won the election, Whoopi. And the last one, but the funniest one of them all, Cher said and wrote, and I quote, "If he were, Donald Trump, to be elected, I'm moving to Jupiter." Well, in her mind, she might be on another planet, but physically, she's still on Earth, believe me. And I can go on and on and on, because the list of artists saying those kind of things during the last election in the United States are countless. Well, the same thing happened here, right here in France over the last few hours, the last few days. I'll give you a few examples. They were very original, eh? You'll see the quotes, they're very close to what I just read. Enrico Macias, who's a very famous singer, said, and I quote, "If Marine Le Pen is elected, I leave France." Do you believe him? Is he going to be another Barbra Streisand or Cher? Jean-Marie Le Clésio, he's a Nobel Prize winner of literature. He said, "I give up my passport." What does that mean? He's never going to be able to get out of France, or what? He's going to be stuck here forever? He's not going to travel anymore? I don't know. Maybe that's what he meant. Let's see. Another one, Guy Bedos. He's a comedian, and a funny one, believe me, because he said, and I quote, very original, "I'm planning my departure for Quebec." Ah, that's such a joke. We don't expect him in Quebec anytime soon. We're not trying to sell houses for him or anything. He's not coming to Quebec anytime soon. And the last one, not the least, a rapper called Akhenaton. He said, and I quote, "If Marine Le Pen takes power, I leave France." Another one. You know what? They're all like that, and it's not the first time. Before that, it was Yannick Noah. You might recall that guy. He's a former tennis player, professional tennis player, who's now recycled as an actor and a singer, and he did the same thing. Or even Patrick Bruel, a very well-known singer, who said that he's not going to go in all the cities in France that are voting for the Front National. I don't know if that means that he wants his career to end sooner than later, but anyway, we count those things over and over again. And you know what's going to happen after the election in France? After whoever becomes president? Well, those people are still going to do their job, and they're still going to live in France, like all the other Americans, artists that were complaining a few months ago, that were saying that they were threatening to move out, and none of them did. And you know, when Donald Trump got elected, they were supposed to move. We saw a lot of illegal immigrants coming in Canada, but not one of them came from Hollywood with a few $1 million in his pockets. Let me tell you that. You know how to keep artists in a country? Give them huge subsidies and tax cuts for the wealthiest, and believe me, they'll love you and they'll stay there forever. This is Eric Duhem for the Rebel.media. You can follow our unique coverage of this presidential election in France by going to the site rebelfrance.com.